manner, so okay, you used it in the right manner. You did it the right way.
Thank you.
You did it the right way. So
And I have another one. You look lit.
lit, yeah,
Lit.
you lit.
Lit.
LIT, yeah, you lit. Yeah, you don't look lit. It's either you are lit or that was lit,
That was lit.
or you look lit. Not look lit, but you are lit. So
You
it's
are
more,
lit.
yeah.
Okay.
It's more like an adjective
Okay.
than a verb. It's describing something. That concert was lit.
Okay.
The class was lit. That was fun. It was all that. It was.
But this is informal or formal.
No, this is informal.
Or formal.
Oh no, yeah, no, this is very.
This is like American thing.
No, this is black slang.
Oh, next line.
This is black hip hop, R&B. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when you listen to rap music, do you understand everything?
As far as in what context? Like, do I understand everything that they're talking about? Or do I understand all the words?
Like everything they say. Like when you hear a song, you understand everything.
Yeah,
But for me, it's hard.
For the most part. Well, the thing is, a lot of the stuff that they talk about is very local. It's very much,
From your
American,
culture.
from the culture. Yeah. So if you're not necessarily familiar with the culture, then it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to understand.
So some Americans doesn't understand this culture, so they don't understand it. So they don't understand.
Yeah, they'll listen. They'll actually the same thing. Like, what's lit? Or sometimes you hear crunk.
I don't know.
Yeah, or hyphy.
This is hyphy. Okay.
Yeah, hyphy is more of a Northern California term. That's in San Francisco, Bay Area. They use hyphy. Yeah. The crunk is a Southern term. They use in Georgia, South, that kind of thing. Lit is kind of like the South too, in a certain way. A lot of slang comes from the South. Yeah, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina.
Here it's not South. We don't consider.
No, we're on the West Coast. If you look at the United States as a whole, we're on the West Coast.
Yeah.
New York is on the East Coast. Florida is down south, and then Oregon is northwest. Yeah, we're southwest. Arizona, southwest. Yeah, just look at the map. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of terms out there that you won't understand. What's up, Christopher?
Hello.
Hey, did you get my email?
I haven't had a chance to look at my emails, but I could look right now.
Well, we could talk on the Zoom so I can kind of go through. It was a really good question you had and good point that you made in your response.
Yeah.
So I gave you a point back.
Okay.
On the post, because when I read, I guess I read it too quickly. So you were right. It's and or.
Yeah, because I looked at the prompt. I was like, I definitely would have done the federal agency or federal government, but it did say organization of the choice. So
no, you were correct. So I gave you a point back on that one, and then whenever we get a chance to talk, so I can kind of walk you through some of the nuances of the of citing, because I know it could be a pain in the butt sometimes.
Yeah, it's like I definitely would cite if I was citing from the source. However, a lot of the statements I made in my writings, those are for me. So how do I know? I mean, I think you mentioned that it has to be if it's a declarative, if it's a one of three things, and I did make note of that, so I could be use that as a guideline whenever I am writing for this class. But those are pretty much what you're looking for, correct? It's
for the most part, yeah. I mean, that's why I said it's kind of an art and science when it comes to citing, because there are some things that there's no such thing as your own thoughts. Just to make that clear.
Okay.
There's no such thing as your own ideas. Because whatever ideas you formulated, they have some foundation in something else that you did not come up with.
Well, that's it. That's what I need to help or
Yeah.
making sure I'm doing it right. Because if I'm not doing it right, then I've been doing it wrong for all this time since I've been a student of this school. So
No, you,
I need to fix it.
yeah, no, you're pretty close. It's just the nuance. It's just practice, you know. It's one of those things where it takes time for you to pick up on. Okay, what should I cite? Why shouldn't I cite? And it's always better just to err on the side of, okay, I'm going to cite anything that sounds like a fact, anything that kind of sounds like an opinion to me is probably something I need to cite. Because whatever your opinion is, you're garnering that opinion from multiple sources that you kind of cobble together to come up with your own opinion about something, right? But when
Right.
I read it, I know that you got a number of ideas from different places. So it kind of would behoove you if you like found whatever source you use to kind of like the underlying foundation for your thought or for your opinion. I would probably cite that, right?
That's kind of hard. That's kind of hard. That's it. That's difficult when you're saying what I need to do is take what I've learned up to this point in this past year as a student and just cite from all those sources, even though I'm not particularly actively using them
Right.
in this
You don't,
discussion post.
you don't have to use all of them. You should just use one specific. That's why you have your reference list, right? And wherever you got that idea from, if I give you a prompt, more than likely it's something that we discussed in class or there's something that is in the readings. So you can always cite the readings for that particular discussion. So
Which
you don't
I'm
have to
doing.
go deep into everything that you've learned thus far. That's not what we're getting at. We're trying to really get to the fact that hey, you read something, and yes, you have prior experience and prior things that you read, which will contribute to your opinion, but let's focus at what's relevant and what's immediate in our in our vicinity right now.
Which I have included in my citations. My guideline is usually two references or two citations at minimum.
Mhm.
And then I would cite those, which I
Yeah.
have. So I'm not understanding what you're wanting me to do
Yeah,
as far
I
as
got you.
as far as the previous experience and opinions. It's like
No, I got you.
I have to cite my own opinion. Okay, well,
Yeah,
how do you cite your own opinion? Like, okay,
yeah. That's the thing is that something you think is your opinion is not necessarily an opinion.
yeah. So
So,
it's everything. It's everything I've learned up to this point. So I need to find those sources that with those keywords that you speak of, and then just cite from them. Is that
yeah,
correct?
something like that. That's why I was like, let's sit down and actually go through your assignment, and that way I can show you examples based on your own work as to what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to use my work, as a reference for the whole class because it's been done before in
Yeah,
previous classes. So, please, if you could please critique and give examples of how this could be cited better,
yeah.
that would help. I think that would help everybody,
Okay.
including me.
That sounds good. We'll talk and then we'll set something up and I'll get you situated. All right.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Are you at work right now?
I'm supposed to be, but they didn't have a need, so I am officially free for class.
Okay, okay, cool. All right, because I was just wondering, because you always disappear, and I was like, where'd he go? And then Ricky told me that you at work, and I was like, oh, I didn't
Yeah, I
realize.
usually work on Mondays, but
Okay,
there are some times that I don't. So
no worries.
that's when I'm
All
here.
right, cool.
Thank you.
No worries. Ladies, gentlemen, everybody doing today?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
enjoying the weather.
Enjoying the weather.
Yeah,
I was
I
gonna
mean,
say,
it's really hot where I live, so this is like heaven for
where
me.
you live?
In Palm Springs, it's really hot over there.
You guys are coming from so far.
Yeah, like 2.5 hour ride every Monday.
Why don't you just Zoom?
I mean, I don't work this as much as to get out of the house. Please.
I got you.
I love Mondays.
I got you. All right. Makes sense. Makes sense. Mama, how you doing today? Yeah, I like your shoes. Everybody on the ladies coming stylish all the time. Mama always comes in stylish.
Oh.
She's always fancy. It always looks good. All right, any questions for me? About anything? No? So I don't know what happened with the justification assignment. For some reason, it just kept zero. I know you sent me an email.
Yeah.
I don't know why everybody got full credit for it. So if it's not reflecting an A, just let me know. But it should be reflecting an A. But I don't something's up with the system, so I just want to manually change it all. So far, all the topics sound good. Interested in reading all of them. Just make sure that if you have one of those topics that isn't necessarily directly correlated to HR and make sure you tie those two things together. Strategic HR and your topic, because there's HR in every industry in every area. Just say you gotta make that connection, so I can see it. Okay, I see business aspect of or the strategic aspect of where you're coming from in your topic. Okay, so but everybody did pretty good. I like those topics.
Thank you.
Right. All right. Anything else? No other questions? Okay. All right. So today we're gonna watch a little bit of this video, and then there's an article that I had last week that I wanted to read and kind of discuss. So we'll just do that, and then I'll jump into the lecture, and then we'll call it a day from there. Okay. Well, first, sorry, Chris, if you're not in class, but Marlon busting tea.
Yeah.
I saw that, and I was like,
Well, I can make some tea.
bad tea. I want some good tea.
This is different.
That's okay. I won't try it. Yeah, I will try it now. Well, can I try it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you brought this?
Yeah, Mom bought it. She bought you bought this too? That's yours?
Yeah.
This is the Arabic style stuff
That's okay.
But
Sugar.
without sugar.
Without sugar?
Yeah.
Okay.
because we're
Well,
healthy.
I know I must put sugar in my tea. All right, so what's in this tea?
I think
No, she brought.
And if that's okay, can I give a cup to my husband? Is that okay? He loves tea. He drinks like 3-4 times a
Does
day.
he?
Yeah.
You smell the cardamom?
Yeah. Sorry, Christopher, I know you can't smell it, but it smells good.
I'm jealous.
أنا لا بس هو.
Did you
لا
go
لا
with it?
لا لا مش I don't drink tea.
You don't drink tea?
No.
I don't drink tea either, but
I
I
don't
just
drink-
want
I
to try. Yeah.
I'll try it for you.
Once in a while. I mean, well, every day, actually.
والله أنا بدي أفكر شيء عشان كذا. I just told her that I don't drink tea. I just want to try it for her because of her.
Yeah, no, I
No,
like tea.
every morning I
You drink tea?
yeah.
Yeah, I drink tea or coffee, but most of the time I drink tea.
Yeah, it's coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends. Coffee's a little rough on the body. Tea's much easier
Yes.
Yeah.
on the system. So much, okay. So what's in here? Cardamom, what else?
Tea.
Tea.
Just
Yeah.
tea? What kind of tea?
Cardamom tea.
Oh, so it is
Ah,
cardamom tea.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
It's
cardamom.
Mixed.
Yeah, and cardamom.
Good. Yeah.
It's good.
I can't drink this tea. Like, yeah, what you did wrong, like, nah, I have fancy tea all the time.
This is real tea.
I don't.
Yeah, yo.
It's not good.
Let's get started. Here. Much of this video we're gonna watch, I haven't seen it yet myself. So, get back in, Richard, where do you work at?
Who, me?
Yeah,
I work at a hospital. I'm a patient observer, and I work with the patients. I keep the patients company, those that are high suicide risks, and
Oh, really?
the elderly who are high safety risks.
Oh, huh. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's a flexible job to allow me to be with them, and then overnight when they're asleep, I'm able to study for this course as well.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's good for now.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Chris?
Busy. I'm good. I just finished. I had 2 classes at another school that I was attending, so now I'm done with that program. I'm trying to get licensed as a nursing home administrator. So I'm just focusing on studying for the licensure exam this summer, and then I should be done. And then I can focus on
Good for
this.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, one of the things that I kind of want to talk about last week was Disney. Okay. And Disney has a certain way they do succession planning and kind of setting up leadership for the future. But we'll get into that in the article. But this was interesting in 2021 because it had one of the lead Disney executives talking about HR and how they approach HR and that kind of thing, specifically after COVID, right? What their outlook was going to be and some of the things that they were looking at as far as like expansion and growth and also just managing the business, right? Because as you can imagine, Disney is pretty huge, all right? And it's just very complex organization, multi-layered with different, technical, different hands in kind of different areas, movies, shows, theme parks, and now politics. All right. So, and because they've been in the news lately, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about Disney and of the specific way that they do their leadership and how they replace senior executives, well, specifically the CEO, right? And how that is part of their strategy to keep current, to stay innovative, to stay, up on the latest and greatest, and also not to get stale internally on ideas and kind of the growth of the company. Okay, so we'll watch this for a little bit. We're not gonna watch the whole thing, and then we'll kind of give you guys time to read the article, kind of analyze it, and then we'll go from there. Okay. All right. Let's see here.
Pandemic world. As always, you can find out more and register on Albany Law's events page on our website. Without further ado, let me introduce you to today's 2 speakers on the topic Disney and HR, operationalizing human resources strategy to maximize business results. We're really thrilled to have Christopher Karachi, organizational change consultant at Christopher James Associates, LLC, and a 30-year veteran with the Walt Disney Company and the Disney Institute. Chris is an expert in organizational culture and leadership and has worked with clients worldwide to provide their organizational culture, improve their own organizational cultures based on the time-tested legacy practices of the Walt Disney Company. These efforts involve the development of service delivery frameworks and methodologies, re-engineering human resource practices, and revitalizing approaches to leadership management and succession, all in an effort to impact business results through the operationalization of human resources best practice. Welcome, Chris. Also joining us is James Boswell. Among his many accomplishments, we are proud to have him as an adjunct professor on our online graduate programs. James has spent 30 years working at the intersection of law, business, and government. James is a principal consultant for a firm assisting businesses with organizational culture change, including leadership excellence, employee engagement, quality service, and sustainable results in various industries, including higher education and healthcare. He also serves on the faculty of the business school at the College of William and Mary. Welcome, James, and please take it away.
Thanks very much for that kind introduction, and thank you for hosting this program today. In my work here at Albany Law School and at the Business School at William & Mary, and in my consulting practice, I talk about so many examples of best practices from the Walt Disney Company in all aspects of business, but especially from Disney's human resource strategy. So I'm really excited to be part of this today, getting to speak with Chris Baracci, a Disney veteran. Tom, you said of 30 years, I'll say of over 2 decades. Chris, welcome, and thank you for joining us today to discuss Disney's HR strategy. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with the Walt Disney Company?
Well, first, it's a pleasure to be with you today and to sort of pull the curtain back on some of Disney's best practices when it comes to human resources and human resource strategy. I will begin by saying, before I introduce myself, that nothing I say today is rocket science. It's all very foundational and fundamental. The key is just sticking to it and doing it every day and trying to do it better as the days go by. I started my career with Disney in Florida at our Walt Disney World property. For those of you not familiar with that, that's in Central Florida. It is the largest of the Disney resort and park properties around the world. It hosts anywhere, this fluctuates all the time, between 70 and 90,000 employees work on that site and is considered to be one of the largest single-site employers in Florida in North America. I was based there and began my work there actually in parks at the Magic Kingdom Park in 1988 in operations in the park. Was there just a few years before I took a leave of absence and went back to school. I went to school in Europe, graduate school in Europe, earning a master's degree in leadership. Came back to the US and immediately onboarded back to the Walt Disney Company at Walt Disney World in Florida into the Disney University. The Disney University is the name that we have for our internal learning and training and development organism within Disney. All of our training, all of our orientation, all of our ongoing training, compliance training, all of it happens within the confines of Disney University and the teams there that make all of that happen. And as I said, supporting a cast group, an employee group of between 70 and 90,000 people on an annual basis with that. I worked for the Disney University primarily in leadership development, but certainly touched on orientation, which the Disney University also had responsibility for, so new employee orientation, compliance training, line of business training, leadership training. It really was an entire catalog of offerings that the university ran. Worked for Disney University until 2000, and then made a large pivot from internal training to external training, and went to work for the Disney Institute, which is the external training, learning, development division of the Walt Disney Company and based out of Florida. So went to taking all of our knowledge, if you will, especially around human resource practice and around our culture at Disney and translating that for external audiences. And for the next 20 years, beginning in 2000, I worked extensively with organizations around the world in a variety of different industries, from healthcare to manufacturing, banking, retail, just about every industry that you can possibly imagine, and help them to adapt some of Disney's best business practices for their own business, for their own industry. Because when they came to us, when they came to Disney Institute, they all seek to this day, they seek the same thing. And that is to improve their cultures.
Okay, just want to stop real quick. So from time to time, I'll stop it. Chris can see me. I'll stop the video because he'll say something else I think I need to highlight. So one of the things he talked about was that, the last 20 years, he's been working with other companies trying to show them how Disney does HR, right? This is a common practice throughout corporate America. It's called benchmarking. So basically what happens is I will, let's say for instance, when I worked at Toyota, Ford company who makes Mustangs and other cars, they call Toyota and say, hey, Toyota, can you send a team over because we like the way you do this and we want to learn how to do it too. And so Toyota says, no problem. So they send a team over to Ford and we watch Ford's process as far as what they're doing with this particular area. And then we show them how to do it the Toyota way. Okay. This is a practice that most companies use, competitors use with each other, right? One school will call up another school, say, hey, I like the way you do this. Can you come show us how to do it, right? They don't give you any secrets as far as proprietary information or anything that, is definitely corporate knowledge or very, sensitive as far as process, right? You're not getting a special recipe here. It's not like you're going to KFC and saying, hey, let me get the special recipe for how you make chicken. It doesn't work that way, right? But at the same time, KFC will send a team over to Burger King, right? Because the Burger King is saying, oh, we want to launch a new product, right? We want to launch a chicken sandwich, right? Burger King is known for hamburgers, but they say they want to launch something chicken related or chicken nuggets or something like that, right? They may not necessarily know how to do it in an efficient manner. So they're going to go to the experts, say, hey, right, KFC, we want to do this or introduce this to our menu. Can you please send a team to help us show us how do we do chicken, all right? And so you'll find that a lot of companies, once they have a really good process in place, a lot of companies will then turn around and say, hey, can you come over and show us how to do it, right? And it's not, there's no, conflict or anything like that. It's a phone call between senior leadership. And sometimes it's even an exchange program, an established exchange program. Like we had people in Toyota that worked for Ford, that were from Chevrolet, that were from Audi, or from other car companies, and come see how Toyota does things, because Toyota is considered one of the top companies when it comes to reliability, durability, longevity, right? But we also have something called Kaizen. Kaizen is a Japanese term, right? But it's reduction or limited waste. Okay? The way Toyota does things is very, I don't want to say feng shui because it's not really feng shui per se, but it's very, there's a word for it right now. But everything is positioned for a reason. Okay. So on the plant floor, if I have somebody and that person's job is to put the tires on the car, the person will be sitting here and they'll have a robot arm that they control it, basically. Right. But all the tires will be right around them. So they don't have to get up, go get the tire. They just kind of reach the arm, boom, get the tire, reach the arm. On this side, get the tire. There's another one on that side, get the tire. Another one on that side, get the tire. So they control these 4 arms or so to put the tires on the car, right? And the car itself is on this bigger robot arm that's kind of taking the car and bringing it up, down. It's throwing it around like a rag doll, sort of, right? Control it. But the way Toyota does things is it's about efficient management and not wasting anything, even when it comes to your energy and your movement. All right, kinesiology is part of what they do. Right, how can I minimize the time it takes me, or it takes the employee to go from here to here to do this task? Right, seconds matter. Okay, so if I can reduce 2 seconds on the process here, it exponentially gives me an advantage, because 2 seconds here, correct? 2 seconds here with Marv, 2 seconds here with Marv, 2 seconds here with Rua, right? That 8 seconds, all of a sudden now I have a team that's going 10, 15, 20 seconds faster. And I multiply that by 100 teams, right? And so now you start to see the benefit in having everything placed kind of right. And it seems kind of weird because you don't think that walking from here to here is a waste of time, right? But it is.
Just like car racing, like when it's time to change the tires and
Exactly.
oil everyone has a specific job and they do it all at once.
All at once. See, that's a perfect example. That's exactly what it is. It's like a car race. You see, they stop at the pit stop and then they change the oil, they put new tires on there. The guy eats, gets, a lot
Everything
of
gets
things
done
happen.
within seconds.
Seconds, like 20 seconds, I think it is, 25 seconds, and they got all that done, right? That's kind of how Toyota works, right? And a lot of companies will call Toyota for them to come in and show me how to do this, right? Show me the Kaizen way, right? Hospitals, scripts, calls all the time, come in, show us how to do it. Show us how do we apply it on the medical side of the house, right? And so what he's saying is that he's got a lot of experience, not dealing only with Disney, with other industries, which gives him a lot of insight and gives him a lot of understanding as to how do I put different things together, right? And how do I appropriately leverage the HR and the staffing function in which to enable them to execute Kaizen in a proper way, right? Because when you do Kaizen right, it reduces your numbers as far as staffing and manpower. That's why it's such a powerful tool, but it's very, very difficult to do because you have to be very disciplined. Everyone has to be disciplined. And that's the problem, is that everyone has to be in the same sheet of music. So it just happens to be that way because that's their organizational culture, but it's very hard to take it to other companies who don't have that same mindset, right? And also remember that Toyota is based out of Japan, right? And they have a total mindset altogether as far as how they work and pride of work and that kind of thing, as compared to the United States, especially. We take pride in work, but when it's time to go home, it's time to go home, right? Not Japan. You don't get done until the job is done. People will stay overtime, not get paid because they have pride in their work. Don't want to do a certain thing, right? What's up, Ricky?
What's going on, Dr. Goss?
Not much, just watching the video.
So that at the end of the day, they can deliver the best service experiences, customer service experiences to all those people that they serve. Whether they're providing a service or providing a product, the goal is to provide the best experience possible. So I enjoyed that career of 20 years with the Disney Institute, and the Disney Institute is still going strong, but sharing those best practices, not only in North America, but around the world. Today, I hope to share with you as much as possible what some of that strategy at Disney looks like internally, the things we used to teach or I taught at Disney Institute to our external clients, and why that makes such a difference in the success of your company and the financial results that your company attains year over year. So with that, I'll hand it back to Professor Boswell.
So Chris, thank you for that. That's a wonderful background. Disney's reputation, as I think everybody knows, the reputation around customer service is world-class and has been for over half a century. It's a remarkable record. Can you describe to us how the Disney strategy around HR is engineered to keep customer service at that high level and keeping customer service central?
Yes, service is central at Disney and has been central for the last half century. I need to take you back to the time of Walt Disney himself. Walt Disney knew, he was very keen on being aware that the products and the things that he created or innovated in all those years, he knew that to try to differentiate your business simply on those products or those services was not sustainable long-term. He knew that something else had to go with the product delivery, and that was the service delivery, so the customer service delivery. This is still a critical element to the culture today, and an element that I shared through all my years at Disney Institute with our clients, is that service is often the things people take for granted when they're interacting with an organization, but it's the first thing that they notice when something goes wrong. And especially when you're in an organization that has a high brand value, it's an organization where the quality of the product or the quality of the service, like Disney, is already very high. Your customer makes an assumption when they interact with you that they're going to get a quality product or a quality service. So the wild card becomes the customer service that they encounter in the process of consuming that product or service that you're offering. Walt Disney recognized this very early on, and he knew that it was important to focus everyone working with him. And he's been gone a long time now, but we still hold to these same truths in the company. He's been gone since 1966, but he was focused on making sure that the experience for the customer interacting with us was always the most thoughtful, the most mindful, and the most detail-oriented that it could possibly be. Because we knew, and he knew, that eventually people would start replicating our products, they would replicate our experiences, but he knew that if we kept on top of this service piece, that would be the piece that would ultimately differentiate us. And it still does. To this day, Disney service is known worldwide as being the finest and of the highest class. For him, in order to focus people, even in those early years, on the centricity of the service delivery, he knew that he had to appeal, and it was very much an emotional connection. He had to appeal to the employees that worked for him to want to come to work, to make a difference for the customers that they were seeing every day in their experiences, even internal customers that they were seeing every day in their employment experience with us. And in order to do that, he had to take some things that we know all too well in human resources, visions and missions and vision statements and all of that, and he had to really boil it down to what made a difference in the employee's experience. And that thing, and I'll continue to talk about that today in our time together, that thing was called purpose, as we say at Disney, our common purpose. It was all that we do, it was all that we stand for, boiled down to something that everyone, no matter what role they were playing in the organization or what job they had or what tasks they did every day, it was something that everyone could engage in and participate in. And I'll tell you, the short version of that common purpose for Disney is we create happiness. That is what we ultimately do, all of us, across all the divisions of the company. We create happiness. And if you can get your people to engage in that purpose, which is very emotional, there's an emotional connection there, then they can, with the direction of the organization, internalize what that creation of happiness looks like in their individual goals. Walt Disney started that, even though he may not have had a complete framework around that. The idea of that he started way back in the 1950s when we opened Disneyland in California in 1955. And he knew that long term that would be the thing that people would keep coming back to us for year after year. And to this day, it is. People are looking for that happiness, and we internalize it and we deliver on that in whatever we do. If we know that as an organization, and that is as powerful a piece as it is, then we absolutely have to integrate that into everything that we do. The creation of happiness has to be integrated into our processes, into the way we train our people, into the way we manage our people, into the way we manage experiences for our customers. Every detail has to be paid attention to in order for us to be very intentional about our response to that detail and keeping us ever focused on that creation of happiness. So to this day, that is our goal, is to create that happiness in the service experience. And there is a framework beginning with that common purpose of creating happiness. There is a framework of standards and behaviors that the Parks and Resorts division of the company, which is responsible for all of our parks around the world and all of our hotels and resorts around the world, is to keep everybody focused on that common purpose. And that's the goal of the culture. And it has to be integrated throughout every step in the cultural journey that our people take. At the end of the day, if you will, when we talk about financial results for your company, we have to be able to translate that customer experience into something that we can measure. And of course, that is financials at the end of the year, or whenever that is that we're measuring them. We measure them often, but it's the financials that aren't a direct result of the service being delivered, but they are a direct result of the loyalty that is created from the delivery of that service. And I can't overestimate enough for you the power of a customer service experience in driving loyalty. Whether that loyalty is getting someone to come back and revisit you and respend, as in vacations for us in Florida, or if that person is not coming back, it's the power of being able to recommend your brand to other people based on their experience. We have many, many families and many people who come to visit us once in their lifetime for a variety of reasons. But we want to ensure that when they walk away from that singular or single experience, that they walk away with the most positive response to that as possible, because they're going to be talking to people and they're going to be on social media recommending what they did and the things that they saw. So it's that intent to recommend and the intent to return for those that can that drive the financial results. And both of those loyalty metrics are based on the quality of the service. As I said earlier, when you're a brand like Disney, there's an assumption that the quality of your product will always be there. So you have to live up to that. People aren't judging you on that. They're judging you really on the quality of their experience. So if we...
Okay, we're gonna stop here. All right, so. Kind of got to get to. All right, so from what we've heard thus far, right, from what he was saying, how is the HR connected to the company as far as their strategic approach and ultimately their, end goal of, hey, being financially solvent, right, of making money? How did he frame that particular thing that Disney does that results in good financial success? Right? What was he talking about?
It's about finding the right candidate for the right job, for the right time.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely, he kind of mentioned that in a roundabout way, but that's definitely something to think about. What else? What was he specifically honing in on? Anybody remember? Nothing? Nobody remember what he said? No?
Finding somebody that could best represent the company.
Yeah, no, definitely that. But so one of the things he talked about early on is purpose, right? And establishing that as the common goal for the company. Okay. As big as company as Disney is, it would be very difficult to try to find something that we all had in common that would be motivating for us to do our job, to come in, right? So what most companies do, we focus in on something that is specific to the company, right? The purpose, the mission, goal, whatever it is, right? In this instance with Disney, they focus on the purpose, right? We are, here to create happiness. Okay, that's basically, you see it in the commercials, you hear people say it, right? When people, teams win the Super Bowl or whatever the case may be, these big sporting events, hey, where you gonna go? I'm going to Disneyland, I'm going to Disney World, right? They've been doing that forever and a day, right? But for him, and how you get to this financial success is through the people, it's through the employees, because the employees are what we would call customer facing. Okay, you guys have been to Disney before, right? Yeah, who hasn't been to Disney? Never been to Disney.
The one in Irvine.
The one in Anaheim.
Anaheim.
Anaheim. Yeah. Okay. So when you go to Disney, right, it's very much an interactive situation with the people that work there. They're very engaged. They're very,
They love what they're doing.
so they know what they're doing, but they're very social, right? They're very deliberate in how they approach you, how they talk to you. the things they do. There's never an instance really at Disney that you feel like there's not someone you can ask a question that you're not going to get an answer to. Okay. And that's something that they do on purpose because of the purpose. Okay. We focus it on purpose as our kind of our drum, right? Usually, well, not usually, but sometimes during battle or during some kind of specific event, especially back in the day, talking about ancient times, they use music, right? Whenever you were doing something, they had a drum.
Wrestling,
What's that?
wrestling,
Wrestling?
when they wrestle,
What do you mean?
like in the.
Oh, yeah, like
ancient
gladiators.
Greek,
Stuff. Okay, yeah, no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, gladiator sports, right? Those are drum or something that was kind of like the lead or the thing to follow, right? And that's what they do it, right? Because now I've instructed my people follow the beat of the drum. When the drum goes, that means move. When it goes, that means stop. When it goes, it means do this. Okay, that's their purpose. That's their drive, right? And so the same thing with Disney. Their drive or their purpose is to create happiness, right? But they instill that or put that on the employees because they understand that as a leader, I cannot do that individually for each person, okay? But if I put it or instill it into my employees and I spread my employees out, everyone that interacts with my employees is going to get a little piece of the purpose. Is going to get a little piece of creating the happiness for them. That's why he was very much focused on the employees and making sure that they understood what the purpose of the company is, right? What is your purpose here, right? Not, I'm here because I sell hot dogs, or I'm here because I sell the lemonade. No, you are here to contribute to the creation of happiness for this individual, right? This moment in time, as this individual is sitting in front of you asking you for a turkey leg or whatever it is, this can be the deciding factor is if they, as to whether or not they have a good day or not have a good day, or whether or not they walk out of the park saying, you know what, I had a really good time. This park is amazing, or this customer service was terrible. Okay, and so the purpose, although it's strategic and very high up here as far as overall strategic approach for the company, right? It's been filtered down to the employees so that they can be the ones that really enforce and create the organizational culture. Okay. And so when you look at that and you give the workforce a purpose, right? And the purpose is to create happiness, they're going to interact with the customer in a different way. Okay. Just to shrink it down, again, when we talk about going to Chick-fil-A or going to, In and Out or something like that, right? That particular experience is very, small, right? But it's your individual experience with that. But as you start to multiply it across the board, you see that everyone has the same experience. That's not an easy thing to do, right? What they have to focus on a common thing. What is our purpose? Our purpose is to deliver high quality food in a fast, efficient, and affordable manner. Okay? Courtesy to the customer and make sure the customer leaves satisfied, if not happy, right? And that's kind of what you get at Chick-fil-A. Disney's the same thing, right? It's just a bigger, larger scale, right? And they do it through HR, right? Hiring the right people, right? Making sure that when they onboard, they understand how do we comport ourselves when we talk about or when we interact with the consumer, the customer, right? Because that person is paying your check. That person is making sure that we sustain and we have a company that on the line, right? Is that individual person, paying for all the bills at Disney? No, but they're definitely that $500 that they're about to spend. That's your paycheck, right? That is money to buy supplies to make sure that the machines work and the rides work, right? And that the lemonade tastes good and all the food tastes good and it's clean and all this other stuff they got going on, right? But strategically speaking, the leadership are the ones that are saying, hey, we have to have this mindset. And once we have this mindset, then we can go ahead and trickle it down to the employees who will then impart it on the customers, right? If you listen to what he said, at the very beginning. And you guys may or may not be familiar with Walt Disney, the actual person. Anyone familiar with Walt Disney?
He's the actual person.
The actual man, right? Okay. So the actual man, he died in 1966. Okay. And like you said, to this day, they still use his mindset. They still use his mantra. They still use his particular set of rules and strategy, right? For how to approach customers, right? How to build a business, right? And it's been successful, right? Disney is one of the biggest, most powerful corporations in the world, right? Paris, China, Japan,
Everywhere.
everywhere, right? Disney movies, you can't escape it, right? So,
Was-
but go ahead. No.
Was he a businessman?
No. No. He was a businessman in the sense that he understood that in order for you to be successful, you had to make sure that the customer was happy, but everything else in between, no. He was more of a visionary. He was more of someone that was more of an entertainer, right? Than anything else, and he wanted people to be happy, and he was consumed with his work of bringing these characters to life, but he wasn't necessarily a business guy. But he was smart enough to surround himself with business people, right? If you're going to be successful in any endeavor, you have to, first thing is acknowledge your weak points, okay? Because once you acknowledge your weak points, then you know who you need around you to support you to fill those gaps, right? Without that, your company's going to fail. I don't want to hire somebody or bring people aboard or have a staff that does the same thing I do or strong in the same areas I'm strong in. I don't want that. I want people that are strong in areas where I'm not, right? And that's how he was. He was a good cartoonist. He understood, he had a vision, talking animals. That's something that you really have to think about, right? I wouldn't think about that myself, but personification of, inanimate objects and that kind of thing. He thought in that way, right? He's very creative in that manner. Now, could he read a balance sheet? Did he know what an income statement was? Could he, raise money? He's very actually kind of a somewhat abrasive and frank person, right? And the thing is, I talk about him a lot. The Disney, he used to be he was a Marine. He was in the military. Not as most people were back then, but he was specifically a U.S. Marine. But he got kicked out of the Marine Corps for personality disorder. Okay. Now I know what that means because I was in the Marine Corps. So I know when they say personality disorder, it's basically what he was thinking, how he's thinking, didn't match up with the values and the standards of the Marine Corps, say, right? Because he's creative. The Marine Corps is not like that. The military is very black and white. There's no talking back. It is,
Right.
strict. There's rules and regulations, but there's a structure there, right? He's not a structure guy. He wasn't a structure guy, right? Nothing wrong with that. Not for everybody, right? But as you can see, he went on to do great things, right? And utilizing his strengths, okay? But he realized the strength was in the people. It wasn't in him. It was, matter of fact, when he first started, nobody liked Disney. Nobody liked Mickey Mouse. They thought it was stupid, right? Donald Dog, the talking dog, and they're like, this guy must be high on something, which he was. I think he did a lot of LSD. Yeah. So he did do some drugs, but at the same time, whatever.
Worked out for him.
It worked out for him, right? And we don't do drugs, but we still like Disney. Okay, so he knew something that we didn't know. But the point is that if you have, from a strategic outlook, right, and you have your company, you have to really infuse that into the mind of your workforce, right? And that starts at the top, right? All your senior leadership, they have to buy in. They have to buy into the idea that people matter, right? And he specifically was talking about the difference between the Walt Disney Institute, which was an external function, and the Walt Disney Academy or a learning institution, which was an internal institute, right, or internal organization. And that you have to have leaders that understand the value of your workforce and also be able to, you know, mold the people, right, into thinking the same way. Okay. What's the good sign of a good leader? What's one of the signs of a good leader? Or I should say, what is a leader trying to do? What is a leader's focus, sort of? What drives me as a leader? What am I trying to get at? Yeah.
Good communication skills and have a strong personality.
Okay. All right. Good communication skills, very social, able to talk to people, all right?
Being selfless.
Being selfless. Okay. All right. What else?
Flexibility.
Flexibility, definitely, all right? But as a leader, what really, what am I trying to do?
Achieve a goal.
Achieve a goal, right? But how?
Motivate your team.
Motivate my team, right? Okay. So I'm trying to reach a goal. I motivate my team. Now, how do I motivate my team?
Being a good example for them, maybe.
By being a good example, right? By showing them, not telling them. Okay. I want you to emulate me. Okay. I'm not going to ask you to do something that I wouldn't do myself. Okay. But there's one key thing about a leader, right, that kind of showcases a leader of the level of leadership. Okay. And so, and Ricky kind of knows this because Ricky was in the Marine Corps, same as me. Okay. One of the things about leadership that we measure leadership by is the ability for someone to make you do something that you would not do on your own. Okay? Make you do something that you would not do on your own. Okay? You are so committed to the goal and to the purpose of the organization because me as a leader, I motivated you, right? Or other leaders have motivated you, right? And so you typically would not want to do this, right? You typically are not going to think of doing this, right? You typically would not be like, I want to stay here 8 hours and do spreadsheets. That's not something you would do on your own? Probably not, okay? But as a leader, and I've, kind of motivated you, I've shown you like, hey, this is what I'll do to make sure that the company is successful. I know you don't want to do that, okay? But you're going to do it anyway because I'm asking you to. That is one of the pivotal signs of a good leader, getting people to do things that they would not do on their own, okay? Think about the mindset, even military, revolutionary, even just in your day-to-day life, okay? There are things that I don't want to get into, I don't want to do, right? As much as I enjoy your company, I'd rather be doing something else as far as something I like and, it's something I like more, I should say, right? Because I actually love this, but this, would I rather be watching the basketball game right now? Of course, I'd rather watching the basketball game. But, I'm here and I'm here to, kind of for us to learn, but I'm motivated by you guys, okay? So that motivation leads me to do things that I normally would not do on my own, just like a leader. Money. You work for money, all right? And people do jobs that they don't necessarily like, but they do it anyway because they're motivated by the money, okay? Now we're motivated by the leader and what the leader is imparting on us and saying, look, I know this is not the best thing. I know you're gonna, not be happy about it, but I need to do it. Okay. And if you can do that as a leader, you're gonna have a successful company. If you can get people to sacrifice for something that is bigger than themselves and also doesn't necessarily lead to any direct reward for them, you got a good leader right there and a great team. Okay. And so For Disney, that's the strategic approach to HR, right? For us to make sure that the employees understand the purpose and that they need to manifest the purpose in how they interact or when they interact with the customer, with the client. And every instance of interaction can be that pivotal moment in which it affects the consumer to where they're going to decide whether they like this experience or they don't like this experience, which will lead them to coming back or not coming back, right? Telling somebody had a great time or telling somebody had a terrible time, right? Nothing's worse than, from the marketing standpoint, word of mouth, right? Bad marketing by word of mouth. You want something to spread fast? You tell somebody will tell, we can't be quiet. We like to talk, right? We like to tell each other, right? It's not faster than social media, but it's fast. Okay, that's how things used to go, right? And so that HR strategy that they're using, their whole aim, their whole goal is to make sure that the employee understands their value, right? And that's how they hire, right? That's how they bring folks on. That's how they figure out, who's going to be the next generation of leaders for Disney, right? Understanding the purpose, embracing the purpose, making sure that we have, and it doesn't have to be the purpose. It could be whatever it is that the company chooses to be that unifying force. It could be the vision. It could be the work that we're doing, right? We are all focused on this new AI technology. I don't like any of you guys, okay? But we're going to work together because of the AI thing, right? We all love AI. And so because we all love AI, we're going to focus on that. We all love liquidation, right? We're going to focus on liquidation, okay? So it's not about necessarily the people per se, it's about that common goal and how you can put it out there so that everybody can buy in. Once you get everybody to buy in, then after that, kind of utilize HR as more of a competitive advantage, right? Especially in Disney's case, because the employees are always out there dealing with the customer, right? And so if you're constantly in the customer's face, that's your business. You have to make sure that the employees understand, like, the company goes as you go. You're mean to the customers, the company's financials are gonna drop. You treat the customers well and you give an experience, the company's gonna prosper. Okay? And so those are the kind of things that you have to kind of really think about from a strategic level as to how we're going to get, what kind of message are we gonna send to the workforce? Okay? What kind of people we're gonna hire, right? Okay, any comments, questions on that? No? Okay. Yes. Somebody say something?
Customer services.
Customer service, that's what he said, right? Services. It's all about services. At the end of the day, service industry and the services in general drives most business. Because that's what even if you're providing a good, you're still providing a service. So because there's some transactional things going on, there may be some transformational things going on, but there's definitely transactional things going on. You come into the store, yes, I know what I want, but at the same time, now when I go to the register, all right, to pay for it, what am I dealing with? Right? Am I dealing with somebody who's very kind, hospitable, welcoming? I'm dealing with somebody who's too busy looking at everything, like, yeah, what you want? I like to pay for this. Okay, when I get to it, all right, I'm on a break or something like that, right? So it's important that, you think about those things, especially, for those of you that want to be entrepreneurs or are entrepreneurs, have your own thing going, right? I don't know much, going back to the classroom with the kids. I don't know. The kids don't listen to anything, so they got to mind their own. They're the toughest customers, right? But if you can make kids happy, as Disney does, mission accomplished. You got something good going on. Okay. All right. Let's take a quick 5 minutes. You guys need a break? Yeah. All right. Let's take a quick 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it should be on the
No.
Yes.
What's up? Yeah, I did, yeah. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it's good. So I just gotta, pass a few things out and see what's really going on. I got a few other questions, but, it sounds like basically, I gotta find a place. And then I just told us, hey, it'd be okay to go. Find it. No. And where? Okay, yeah. Like it. Uh,
When I came to them, please tell me to work. They need you to work.
oh, really?
Because we didn't know this was the time to, I said to them, I'm back to work. One, two, three. Specifically,
You guys see it? Okay. So what I want you to do is,
This one?
oh, what the heck? No, that's not it. Yeah,
Right here.
yeah.
And the Kuwait chapter. Anyway, Kuwait.
That's not what I wanted. What the hell? Okay, that's not the article I wanted.
Not this one?
No, it's not. That's not it. I don't know why that got there. Let's see.
Maybe week 4.
No, okay. How did that happen? This. Okay. So go to this URL and read this article. This URL. This one up here. Just type it into your search bar. Yeah, type that into your search bar on Google, and then that article that pops up. I want you guys to read that article. I'll give you about 10 minutes or so, 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll discuss the article. Yes. Monday.
You can send it.
Oh, yeah, it's true too. Yeah, let me see. Okay, I just sent in the chat. Yeah, Memorial Day is on Monday, so I think close. Huh? No, I sent it. Look in the chat, in the Zoom chat. You should be able to see it there. No, I did, but then Ruben had a good idea to send it. Just send it in the chat, the Zoom chat. Look in the Zoom chat, and then just click on it. Yeah. But if you want, if you don't have Zoom, logged in. Here. Yeah, this is, there it is. You can type it into the toolbar if you want.
Prof, can you resend it?
You want to resend it to where? Oh, the chat is not, I don't know.
I just shared the link.
Okay, thanks, Christopher.
Yep.
Everybody can see it in the chat? Okay.
You can see it on the page.
We got it done. Are we looking ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what was the article about?
About a CEO who was bad in, his name is Igor,
Tiger?
Iger, and he is not good in succession.
Okay.
He was a bad planner. No, as I understand.
No, he's
was
good because
No,
he
was
15 years for acquisition companies like Marvel.
Mhm.
What's the companies that he is? Picture and
Pixar, yeah.
Yeah.
All Disney companies.
yeah, this is,
Okay.
so he has a lot of experience for 15 years.
Mhm.
Then the problem is that the rush of making a CEO like what's his name?
Chapek.
Chapek.
Yeah, this is the problem with this article that rush hiring CEO after
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so it mainly talks about how the former CEO of Disney, Iger, had 15 years to actually appoint a successor to be a CEO after him. Was a complete failure after he finally nominated Chapek, but didn't really give him power.
Right.
So Chapek was in the office, but really didn't have the power because Iger was somehow attached
Mhm.
and still made the decision after he named himself as the executive chairman. So they didn't really give Chapek the complete freedom
Mhm.
as Iger had, which was a failure to the company.
Yeah. Okay.
And eventually, Disney will need to find another CEO to run the company.
Okay. Yeah. Eventually, yeah. Okay, so this article talks about the issue at hand, but the reason that there's another article that I really want, but the reason that Iger is so Iger was the CEO for 15 years. They got rid of him, put Chapek in, and then Chapek didn't do such a great job, and they bought Iger back. Who, he's worked with Disney, yeah, but he wasn't, yeah,
20.
yeah, but he didn't do such a great job as the CEO, and then they bought Iger back. Okay, and the problem with the CEO thing with the succession plan with Disney, Iger himself, they put a plan in, and maybe the board did this. So the way Disney does succession plan for the CEO specifically, every 2 years, they switch out a CEO. That's their new thing. Okay, so this is why Iger, although he had 15 years to find a CEO or find a successor, he never did because they never had that in place. Now they have it in place where every 2 years they bring in a new CEO, right? No matter how successful the current CEO is, right? So it brings up a lot of issues for the company, okay? So imagine that, for this class, I'm the CEO of this class, okay? And you come in week 1, I'm here. You come in week 2 and 3, somebody different. You come back week 4, I'm here again. Okay, so what's the problem with that?
Confused. You different from the one.
Okay, yeah.
Who is the CEO? Who is the real CEO?
Who's in charge, right?
Who's in
Who's the
charge?
real structure of the class, right? You have a continuity issue. Okay, there's no continuity. 1 minute you're here, the next you're not. Okay, who's making the decision? Do I talk to you if I need something with my grade, or do I talk to the other person, right? And so this is the issue that Disney's run into now, right? With this new 2-year rule thing, right? That's why Chapek got put in. The problem is that if you have a CEO switching out every 2 years, right, you're going to create a lack of continuity. Okay, first thing.
It also
Secondly,
gives a sense of instability for the employees as
exactly,
well.
look at that.
Like you feel like maybe 1 second you'll be here and then you're out, which
Right.
is like uncomforting.
Yeah,
in a sense.
absolutely. Absolutely. 2 years is a very short time to really do anything on a very high strategic level. It goes by so fast. 24 months goes by very quickly. And by the time you actually get anything in place that you plan, you're not going to really get to fully implement it. Okay. So, why do you think that Disney would implement a 2-year succession plan for the CEO?
In
Why would-
case it fails.
Because they don't want to stay without a CEO.
No, they're gonna have a CEO, but why would I switch out my CEO every 2 years? What would be the benefit of that?
Having different ideas.
When I did, okay. What else?
Maybe he wouldn't be very informed. I'm just thinking out loud here. Maybe they wouldn't give like a CEO a long time, so he wouldn't be familiar or like he wouldn't know everything about the company. So it's just a facade for the company.
Okay, I get you. Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah, maybe. I mean, that'd be kind of silly for them to do that.
Yeah,
You want the CEO to know everything, so it kind of be.
if no one wants to speak here.
Yeah. What's up, Ricky? You gonna say something or Christopher? You gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just commenting that they most likely switch out CEOs every 2 years just as a basis for monitoring success or failure. It's just a safeguard.
Okay. All right, kind of along the lines of what Ruben is saying, kind of like, hey, we want to be able to measure you, quantify your particular achievements or objectives, and make sure that you're doing the job correctly, right? But for Disney, I think we might say,
Yeah, we don't want someone to be controlled or monopolize that
Yeah.
part of the company.
but what if the CEO is successful? What if the person that's in charge is doing a great job and is the right person for the right job at the right time?
They would still replace him.
That's what happened with Iger. Okay. So no matter what, they're replacing the CEO after 2 years. Okay. So you see the problem in doing that, right? In that no matter how successful the CEO is, we're replacing them because we are so fixated and so attached to this succession plan, right? But there's a reason, there has to be a reason as to why we're so attached to the succession plan, right? Why is it that every 2 years we have to switch CEOs? And I think we might say there's one where, it cultivates, different thinking, right? Different perspective. That's why you bring a different CEO and different leadership in. Because you want to get different perspective or different thoughts on things that after a while, we start looking the same to everybody within the organization, right? The problems that are there, you won't recognize, right? The little things. Whereas somebody new will come in and say, oh, there's a plant in the corner, that plant's plastic and it's dirty. Whereas you come in every day in the office, you don't notice the plant. It's been there the whole time, right? So you get a fresh set of eyes. But Disney in particular, and looking at how well Iger was doing, it seemed rather strange for them to go and say, oh, we need to replace you because Bob Iger, under his leadership, 15 years he was there, all the Marvel stuff.
Yeah. Weren't they on the verge of bankruptcy? I mean, not bankruptcy, but
No.
after they collaborated with another company, Sony maybe, or maybe it's
Yeah, they were down. They collaborated with Sony.
yeah.
That's where they got Pixar from. But they were down. They weren't as making as much money because they had more cost,
Yeah.
overhead costs. And so they kind of severed that relationship and they bought Pixar, which is brought it into the Disney catalog. But you have all these successes with this one individual, but at the same time, you're going to get rid of it, right? And so the thing is that with the succession plan, you need to have one. Okay, you need to be able to groom people and to have people ready to step in and do the job. But at the same time, if you have someone who is successful and it not necessarily doesn't need to be fired or get rid of, why would you do that? Right? What's the incentive behind getting rid of Iger and putting Chapman in? Right? And so if you go a little deeper, it might be because the board might be scared of him getting too much power. Okay. Someone's there 15 years, 20 years as the CEO, there's a certain level of influence and certain level of power that they have, right? This is why we don't have presidents for more than 8 years in the United States. Okay, because that particular position gives you a certain level of power.
I was just comparing it to the presidency,
Yeah.
especially the time. I mean, how would they expect the CEO to make like such dramatic or drastic changes in a company on the scale of Disney?
Right.
And how would they expect the president to fix everything up in only 4 years? So
Right.
yeah, it was just like I was just comparing.
The thing is, from Disney's standpoint, from the presidential standpoint, it's not about necessarily,
Reform.
yeah, it's more about managing.
Yeah.
Managing where we're at and trying to grow it because it's not yours at the end of the day, right? You're just here for a certain amount of time. The people have picked you. And so
Do your best, and that's it.
that's it, right? And we've seen good presidents, we've seen bad presidents, we've seen great CEOs, we've seen bad CEOs, okay? But the whole point is to make sure that no one person is more important than the entire entity. Okay? You're there 15, 20 years, you start to become more important. At least you start to think you're more important than the company. Okay? Bob Iger wasn't like that. He's very much focused on Disney and growing Disney, and he did a phenomenal job. Just like we got probably with Adam Silver. Adam Silver is the CEO for the NBA, the National Basketball Association. And he worked for somebody called David Stern. David Stern died. But when David Stern died, Adam Silver was his second in command, and he just stepped right in. But he had been working with David Stern as the no. So he had been working with David Stern for 20, 25 years. So he knew the vision, he understood the mission, right? And now he's the CEO of the NBA. But at the same time, there's a certain amount of power that David Stern had, right? When it came to the NBA and the players and the things they could do because he'd been there so long and had been successful, right? It's not the fact that he's there a long time, is that he's there a long time and he's successful or she's successful, right? If you're successful, then why should I replace you, right? Why is that a smart, strategic HR philosophy?
As I said, maybe they didn't want them to get much power
Right.
over the team or over the
Over the company,
NBA,
right?
yeah.
Limited power also gives me an opportunity to have different thoughts and ideas, right? Coming from different places. Third, the workforce sees someone different, right? And when they see someone different, what do they think? This is an important aspect of succession planning.
I have to prove myself to this new person too, so they start working harder.
Okay, definitely. But what so there's one thing, if we're changing CEOs, if I see people, coming and going, right? What does that tell me as an employee? What kind of message did that send?
They don't miss out, otherwise they're gonna lose the environment.
Don't mess up, you might be out, yes, but more on a positive note.
We're progressing.
We're progressing how? Who's progressing?
The company. they're
The company's
making
progressing,
changes,
they're
we're
making
developing.
changes, okay?
Thinking that's a good environment.
Not a good environment?
We,
No, it's a good environment. No, if you're just a CEO, just a CEO.
We
leadership.
always try to improve.
We're trying to improve, right? But what message did that send to the workforce?
We are looking for the best always.
We're looking for the best, okay? for more. We're looking, along those lines, we're looking for the best, but
How did you think that the best way to change this? 2 years, not doing anything.
We're not limited, we're not limited,
We're looking for new ideas.
We have a vision.
we're looking for new ideas. No, what'd you say, Ricky?
No, I said we have a vision.
Look with vision. Oh, sorry, Christopher. We have a vision, yeah, definitely. But there's something about the succession planning that sends a message to the workforce, right? If I
Work
see
hard, so you'll be here one day.
work hard, so we'll be here one day, right?
This is-
Think about it. If I'm at the bottom and I see that this person who's at the top, who's the leader, gets switched out every couple of years, that could be me.
Yeah.
If I work hard, I commit, that could be me, right? If I see somebody that's up there 15, 20 years, doesn't matter how hard I work,
Yeah.
I'm never gonna get there. Because that person there 15 years, whoever is next, and it's not me, it's gonna be another 15 years, right? And so when the employees see it, when the workforce sees that, they go, oh, okay, they're promoting from within, all right? They're promoting up all the way to the CEO, right? Because
And
sometimes
they're promoting fast.
and they're promoting fast, right? They're moving people in and out, and they're actually thinking about the future of the company. And so with that, it can be used as an HR leverage to say, look, there's lots of upward mobility in this company. You have a lot of promotion potential, okay? And what that creates is this workforce that's hungry. It creates candidates that are top notch, right? And they come to the company and say, I want to work for you, Disney. Well, I don't know, where'd you go to school? I went to Harvard, and then I got my law degree from Yale, and then I went to another school. Yeah, we'll think about it. Maybe we'll call you. Right? They're not really concerned about that. Okay. But the point is that when you create this particular idea of, hey, there's room for you to grow, there's room for you to get to places, people work harder because they all want to get there. Okay. And so that is the HR or strategic approach as to how you succession planning, and you make it very public. Right. We're flipping people out every couple of years, right? Regardless of how successful or not successful we are in the business of innovation. We're in the business of being on the cusp of new things, right? Having someone there longer than 2 years might make us stale. Okay, we have no new ideas coming out. We will eventually, if we don't get new blood in here, we will be like Blockbuster. We'll be like Sears. We'll be like Kmart. Right? Because all those companies had CEOs that were there for a long time, but the CEOs kind of lost their way, lost their vision. They were too busy enjoying the moment, enjoying the success, and not saying, you know what, maybe it's time for me to go. One of the keys at being a good leader is knowing when it's time to go. Okay? And you see it globally, you see it around the world, right? When you have countries where they have leaders 20, 30 years. Okay, that doesn't happen as much anymore, but 50 years ago, that was the norm, right? You have this monarchy, you have this lineage of successors, and they're in power 20, 30, 40 years, right? And what that does is the mindset doesn't change. Nothing changes about the country. It remains the same because the people are in charge, they have old ideas. They have old mindset. They don't want to try anything new. And so by switching the CEO out every 2 years, I guarantee that I have new thoughts and new perspective, regardless of how successful it is or isn't. Okay? The aim is to make sure that I keep everybody on their toes, but at the same time, show people that, you know what, there's a way up, right? We can use HR, we can use you as a workforce to motivate you and motivate others to move the ladder by working hard, because there's an opportunity here and you could be the next CEO, right? And that's how a lot of companies operate when they really boil down to it, right?
Looking for the assignment for this week, all
Group, yeah, all your group.
even online, even.
No, the same group you had last
Oh,
week too.
the same.
Yeah, you can use the same group if you want. You can
No,
switch in the groups if you
We are
want. but
good, we are good with this.
Yeah, I would say stay.
Yeah,
keep the
because
same
it
group.
says your own group A.
Yeah, same groups. Just
Same
keep.
group.
Yeah,
okay.
don't. Yeah, keep the same groups for this week's research discussion. All right, guys.
Got it?
All right, cool. Okay.
Hey, question.
Yes, sir.
So from what I read in the textbook, succession planning is pretty much catered more towards senior management level positions. And the whole point of succession planning is to get the right skilled person, right? But you're saying here that succession planning is beyond the executive level. It really applies more on an organizational level. Is that correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Because the way Disney is doing it, they feel that they rather have new blood, right?
Yeah.
Than necessarily worry about anything else. That's their priority is having someone who is open and
Yes.
bring new perspective to the organization.
But overall, through all industries, succession planning is typically trying to find the right senior level executive with the right skills, right,
Yep.
and knowledge to replace.
Yeah.
Is that what,
Yeah,
what
in
it's
general, like any other company with the situation that Disney's in, they would never get rid of Bob Iger. They would keep him, right? And you see it across the board. Like I said, the NBA, NFL, those commissioners are there for decades. Because one, it takes time to really build the organization up. Okay. And two, you want continuity, right? Although the employees themselves are moving and changing, the CEO, the person at the top that's leading the vision and the thoughts, right? And the goals, you want that person to be as stable as possible. Okay. But in general, you're right. We want best fit, best person, right time, all that good stuff. But Disney is going a different way with it. They decided that they rather have someone they can shake it up or shake up the mindset or the paradigm so that they can get more innovative and more thought-provoking ideas and concepts out the door. Okay.
Thank you.
Good question. Okay. All right. So for today, we're gonna finish up with employment law, right? And I'm not gonna talk about this too much, but it's extremely important, right? So you guys have taken other HR classes before, right? And talked about Civil Rights Act of 1964, ADA, all the laws, right? So HR is about laws. Understanding the rules, understanding what the government or the federal rules are, the state rules are, the local rules, and all that stuff, right? What is the governing body of legislation that guides the workforce? Okay, Department of Labor, right? Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. You have the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We're always going back to 1871, I think, right? There's different civil rights. But at the end of the day, there's a set of rules for how you manage your people, how you manage your workforce, right? You want to make sure that you treat them fairly. You want to make sure that they have a safe work environment. You want to make sure that they have opportunities for promotion, right? And mobility to move up and down and to be creative in nature as far as like what they want to do, right? Part of the goals of HR is to satisfy each employee's personal goals, right? Because your personal goals are just as important as the institutional goals, right? If you are striving to be a manager or CEO, whatever the case may be, that's going to have an impact on the organization. And so I have a vested interest to make sure that, you want to be the best, whatever, right, for the company. I have an obligation to make sure that I give you all the tools and resources, the environment, so you can grow, because that's going to contribute to the value of the company. It's going to add to the company. So I want to make sure I do that. Okay. So in doing so, right, there's a few things that I have to adhere to. Right? I have to do it the right way. Okay. So our first theory or first, legislation is employment at will. Okay? Everybody familiar with employment at will? That concept? Okay. So here in California and most of the United States is employment at will. Okay. So when you have employment at will, it basically says, I can fire you at any time that I want. Okay. But you can also leave anytime you want. Unless it's a contract. Okay. Unless it's a contract. And so if we have, it says an express written contract, all right, that says you're going to work here for a certain amount of time, then you can't just leave, right? Or I promise you a certain amount of time, you just can't leave, right? You got to kind of do some contract negotiations and break the contract and all that other stuff, right? But in general, I have a contract here, you get 2 week notice, right? 2 weeks notice, but the employment at will concept is basically saying, look, we are both free to come and go if you want within this relationship. Okay? If you feel like it's not a right fit for you and you want to go, there's not gonna be any long drawn out process. You come in, hey, Dr. Case, I'm out. I like your job. I'm gone. Okay, no problem. I'll find somebody else. Okay, that's how employment at will works, and it's something that most companies use because it gives them flexibility, right? To hire and fire, it gives the employee flexibility to come and go as they please. Okay. All right. So we have the Civil Rights Act in general, right? And Civil Rights Act basically is a body of legislation that gives us rights as workers or employees, or gives us rights as people, as a human being. Okay. So the Civil Rights Act 1866 is the first Civil Rights Act that was created by Congress and by the Senate, by the government, right? And it said give all rights, citizens' right to enter contracts, right? And no remedies for unjust treatment were provided. Okay. So when we look at the Civil Rights Act 1866, we say, okay, you as an individual can enter into contract with anybody. Okay. And that there are rules as to how we deal with each other within the parameters of this contract. Okay. But there's also, specifically for 1866, there was no remedies and there was no way to say, hey, Vermont did not, what you would call it, didn't adhere to the rules of the contract. So what do? I guess you got to fight them or something, or shoot them or force them to do it, right? There was nothing in place that you could go to a court and say, hey, court, hey, judge, your honor.
This is happening right now?
No, this was in 1866,
okay.
right? We're looking at the Civil Rights Act 1866, the very first CRA, right? It just didn't, it had no recourse, okay? It had no way for me to say, hey, somebody did something wrong to me as far as contracts go, or just in general.
And that goes for both parties?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes for both parties, right? So they did the Act of 1871, okay? And within the Civil Rights Act of 1871, right, that gave rights to people to sue people for things that they didn't adhere to within a contract. So if we have a contract, if this was 1866 and we had a contract and it said, hey, your contract is you come to class, and then when you come to class, you pay me. All right, and that's the deal. It's in black and white, it's on paper. And then you come to class, but you don't pay me. You just breached the contract. But there was no place for me to go and say, hey, you breached the contract. It was basically, it's either I don't let you into the class, or I just let you in and I don't collect the money. There had no place to go. There were no legalities, okay? Then they brought in the Civil Rights Act of 1871, and they put in these particular remedies to say, if you have a problem with your contract, you can go to the courts, okay? You can say, hey, your honor, I was in a contract with such and such. They did not fulfill the requirements, obligations of the contract. I'm seeking remedy in the terms of $10,000. I want pain and suffering. I want all this other stuff, loss of time, all this other stuff, right? And the judge will go, okay, I'll look at it, and based on the merits of the case, decide whether or not you were in breach of contract, or if you didn't read the contract correctly and you were wrong, okay? So that was put in 1871, right? And we have now the civil rights, well, not right now, but the civil rights of 1964 is probably the most pivotal piece of legislation we've had, okay? And that one, we had the protection of the protected classes, okay? 1964, CRA 1964 was designed for the protected classes, okay? When we talk about protected classes, we're talking about
Pregnant.
pregnancy, religion, race, creed, or color, sexual orientation, right? Those are protected classes, 7 or 8 of them, where you as that individual are protected against people mistreating you or being discriminatory or prejudicial towards you because of your religion, okay? If you walk in and say, oh, I'm Muslim, and they don't give you the job because of that, that's illegal. I'm gay, that's illegal. I'm Black, that's illegal, right? I'm a woman. Oh, okay, well, you can't have the job, illegal. I'm pregnant, illegal, okay? That's kind of what the CRA in 1964 did, right? Because during that time period, it was civil, we were fighting civil rights, right? Dr. Martin Luther King, Dr. Max, Rosa Parks, all these, these big figures, Ruth Randolph, all these civil rights activists that I find during that time period in order to pass this legislation that gave equal rights and protections to everyone, regardless of your class. Okay, that's what we're really going for, equality, okay, across the board. Okay, and so in 1963 they came up with the Equal Pay Act. Okay, and so the Equal Pay Act basically says equal pay for equal work. Right. So, as a point of discussion, how much money does a woman make compared to a man for the same job?
Usually,
How much less? Anybody know?
I'm not sure, but in Jordan, it
Mhm.
was not substantially less, but it was less.
It was less.
Yeah,
Okay,
like by maybe
85 cents to the dollar.
85 cents to the dollar. Okay, so 25%. That's still 75%. 75 cents to a dollar, give or take. Right. So 85 to 1. So that is increased over the past 10, 15 years. It used to be 50 cents to a dollar. For every dollar a man make, a woman make 50 cents in the same job. Okay, and it's still going on now, right? If you compare, and this is a hard one to. There's always a discussion when you're comparing certain industries. So one of the industries that really has a problem with this is the movie industry, right? Why should Brad Pitt get $10 million and I don't know, Angelina Jolie only gets 2? They're both in the movie. They're both doing the same thing, right? Why is it that he gets more than 5 times more than she does? Okay, so in order to fix that issue, they put in the Equal Pay Act. But the reason, why do you think the Equal Pay Act is not as effective as it probably should be?
It depends. I mean, let's face it. For example, men used to get paid more than women do, but let's face it, men are capable of doing many things that women might not be capable of. For example, women might not work as many hours as men. They take maternal leave, they take like a lot of things that there is excused from
Right.
than men, for example. The labor work.
Yeah.
Sometimes men are capable of doing more labor, let's say carrying some like truck, whatever. While women, maybe it takes them longer to do the same thing. Maybe there are some jobs that women are better at than men, but I'm talking about why sometimes men get paid higher. So many factors actually contribute to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that contribute to the difference, right? Other than gender, okay? But when you look as to why, the Equal Pay Act is not as effective as it should be, is because you have to look at who's in charge, who's the leadership, right? Who's making the decisions about these things, okay? And it's men. right? Because men were in a position of power
White man,
for the longest time, right? What'd you say?
white men,
Right.
Caucasians.
Yeah, Caucasian men were in charge, right? And so until you get rid of that layer of leadership, it's always gonna be the same mindset. Because for them, why should I pay a woman the same amount of money I pay a man, right? Because their mindset is women belong at home, taking care of the
Support
kids,
family.
yeah, support family, that kind of thing. I'll make the money, right? So now you want to come into this world, into the man's world. So I'm not gonna pay you as much, right? And that's the mindset that's in most of corporate America. And so that's why it really hasn't caught up with equal pay, equal work.
It'll
And
catch up.
Was that Christopher?
It's gonna catch up in the next 50 years when you look at the demographics,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah,
know, the
absolutely.
minorities, you know,
Yeah,
picking up.
yeah, it's changing because the leadership and the people in charge in our demographics have changed. Okay,
There are more working women now. Women are supporting families, single moms. Yeah, they're being in charge.
exactly, right?
They're in charge.
They're in charge, right? There's more women in school than there are men. I think it's 5 to 1. For every one male, there's 5 women in school.
Here?
No, in the United States.
Oh,
It might even be globally.
5 to 1. Oh, that's good.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more women in school than there are men.
That's good.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. You know, it doesn't really matter, but at the end of the day, the demographics are changing, right? The people that are getting the education and coming into these companies and being entrepreneurs and having these visions and these ideas are increasingly become more diverse, right? So let's just say, for instance, like Tarek and I always talking about business and that kind of thing, right? And he's not American, but he's here, he's opened up a business, okay? Now, 20, 30 years ago, there might have been an issue with that. Okay, it might even be an issue with me trying to open a business, right? Because I'm not a certain race, I'm not a certain demographic. Okay, so it depends on where you're at. Okay, that's where you're at. But the Equal Pay Act was supposed to kind of close that gap when it came to equal pay for work based on gender.
What do you think?
As far as what?
Equal pay.
No, I think everybody should be equal pay for equal work.
Equal pay, equal work.
Yes.
I mean, I am a feminist in a way, but also I don't want to be considered as whatever, but like, don't you think that men are obligated to do more things that women do? I mean, like as simple as a date, for example, you expect men to pay. As simple as
Right.
like really like regular things. It's
Mhm.
all about the man showing courtesy and doing the things.
Right.
So
It
don't you
depends on the
think that
industry.
should be taken into account.
You gonna say, go ahead, Christopher, you gonna say comment to that?
Yeah, it depends on the industry.
Okay. I think we was getting more to like general life, like in general about the role, because we're really talking about gender roles
Yeah.
here, okay? And what characteristics are assigned to those gender roles. I mean, what I think is not necessarily important, but I feel that I don't necessarily believe in gender roles.
Oh.
I don't. Because to me, it's the same thing as, hey, you're black, I'm white, or you're Muslim, or, Middle Eastern, and I'm American.
Transgender.
What's he saying?
Let's not forget transgender.
Right, gender, all that stuff, right? What really, how does that make us different? Because you're a woman, does that mean you're not as smart? Right. Just because you're black and I'm white, it means you're not as capable. This is the mindset that they've had in the United States for the longest time, culturally speaking, right? But it goes back to physicality, right? At the end of the day, if you want to get rudimentary, caveman, from the beginning of history and time, it goes back to the physical aspect of the way that we survived and the way that we lived required a certain amount of physicality and strength. And so because of that, the man was seen as the lead because we're physically more capable than women, right? If we just talk about in general, right? And so we were the one to go out and hunt, bring it back, and then the woman would clean it and take care of the family and that kind of thing, right? Because they were seen as not being strong enough to deal with hunting a lion or deer or whatever the case may be, right? Which we know is not true. It just is the mindset, okay? Also has to do with power. Okay, if I'm the one that's seen as the lead, that means I have the power and all the decision making. Why would I want to give that up? Okay, I want to make other decisions. I want to be in power. I want everybody to do what I want, cater to me. Okay, but at the end of the day, the gender roles, and so gender roles are slowly being broken. Okay, they're being debunked. Right, a woman could be CEO just as much as a man could be a house husband, stay-home dad, right? Nothing at all. Especially like someone like me. I've never been married. I don't have any kids. I'm single. I cook my own food. I wash my own clothes. I clean my own place. I sew. I do all this stuff, right? But granted, my mother taught me this stuff, right? But I still do it on my own. I don't need a woman doing that stuff for me. Now, is it nice to have someone do that for you? Sure, right? But I've been in relationships where I'm the one that does the cooking. She doesn't do the cooking. She can't cook. Okay? But she may take the trash out. She may wash the cars, right? Which is something that's seen as a man's job, right? Or she may put something up or do some handyman or handy stuff, right? That's seen as a man's job, right? But if you're a single woman, you need to be able to do stuff. You need to be able to change your oil, change a flat tire, okay? Defend yourself if you're a single woman. So it doesn't really matter. Gender doesn't have anything, right? It really boils down to a mindset that is slowly being taken away because of the generation of people that are in charge, right? As more and more you guys, in the 30-year-old range, as you guys start to matriculate into leadership roles, things start to change, right? Even as compared to my generation, I'm Generation X, right? 50 and above, we have a mindset. But then when you get to the 30s, they're different mindset, okay? Because you're used to different things. When I grew up, like I said, we didn't have cell phones. When you grew up with a cell phone. We didn't have iPads and we didn't have computers. I didn't use a computer until I was in high school. Now kids are using computers as soon as they come out. They got they on the computer, they're on YouTube, they're on whatever. Okay. So it's the mindset. And as that changes, the equal pay act will become more effective in how it's, being applied to salaries and that kind of thing, right? Also, when, as we start to progress, women are more vocal, more assertive. They're not scared anymore to be quiet, sit down, be quiet and just do your job. That's not where we're at right now. Okay. So all these things definitely play a role, and definitely, should be equal pay, equal work, regardless of whatever. I don't care. I don't care if your hair's purple and you like to wear dresses and you like to wear high heels and you're a man. They used to wear high heels and wigs back in the day in France. Okay. You watch the old movies, they had wigs, they had makeup, they had the high heels. That's where high heels came from. Men used to wear them. And then all of a sudden it switched to women wearing high heels. But men used to wear high heels in France. That's where it came from. But they switched. Okay? I can't remember why they switched. There was a good reason why they switched, but either way. Now women wear heels, right? And even men, we wear heels, but they're just not heel, right? That's a heel.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not a stiletto, because I break my neck. But at the end of the day, doesn't matter. Right? Muslim, Palestinian, Israeli, Jordanian. Does it really matter? No.
Sure.
I know a lot of dumb Jordanians and dumb Palestinians. I know a lot of smart ones too. Okay, just like I know a lot of dumb and stupid Americans, but I know a lot of smart ones too, right? Doesn't matter at the end of the day, right? It's about the United States and the world should be a meritocracy. Okay, and that all that word means is that we judge people based on their merits and not on their physical attributes. Okay, what do you provide and what value do you bring to the table? If you bring no value, I don't care what color you are. You're useless, right? But if you bring value, again, I don't care what color you are because you bring value. Okay. All right. Civil Rights Act 1964, Title 7, basically talks about, way past. Talks about, I'm gonna finish this up and then we'll go. Talks about discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. Basically the protected classes. So make sure that you take a look at all that, right? And this is this particular topic, employment law, is the core of HR. Okay, when we're talking about HR management, this is what HR management do. Right, that's what they do. They talk to the CEO and say, hey, you know what? There's a lot of rules here, there's a lot of laws that we need to abide by. Right, promotion laws, hiring laws, right, hostile work environment, sexual harassment, sexual assault. Okay, there's a lot of compliance, a lot of things here, HR related that are just mostly management aspects and really about the law and nothing else. Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop here. Make sure check into chapters 7 and 8, I think, or 6 and 7. 7 and 8. Thank you. Who always gotta remind me? 7 and 8. All right. Take a look at it. All right. Like I said, employment law is something that you get in every HR class. So take a look at it, and then we'll finish some of this up next week. Well, not next week, the week after. But take a look at it. And I probably will not see you next week, Monday. I'm pretty sure the school's closed for the holiday. Just make sure everything's still due. Okay, all your work still due. Same thing. So I'll post a video, a lecture video for you guys to watch, and then just do your work like you normally would do. It's just not gonna be. Okay. All right. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
was lit. That's right. Class was lit.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yeah.